time is just gone 11 minutes to 9 a.m. as we continue with the show this morning. And it's time now to be joined by Edriss Khamissa, speaker and personal development consultant. And we're talking about an event that is going to be taking place on November the 10th. And that is going to be taking place at the APSIC school, ABSIC, and that is out in Kelvin. Now, the banner talks about messages of hope in challenging times. We're talking about a program for adolescents and their parents. Now, we certainly are living in very, very challenging times and dealing with a lot with anxiety, with stress, with depression, and a lot is rubbing off on our youth as well. And to tell us more, we are now going across to be joined by Brother Edriss Khamissa. Brother Edriss, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and as always, welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's always wonderful to engage with you and our erudite listeners of Salam Media.
Yes, now just looking at this program that is due to take place on the 10th of November, and I see together with yourself being one of the speakers, we've got Maulana Sohail Wadi talking about having hope. But the key issue, I think, on your side, and just to talk about the topic that you will be covering, dealing with disappointment. Now, when one looks at adolescents, when one looks at youth today, these are very difficult times. These are challenging times in more ways than one, dealing with all sorts of problems right across the country. And I think more importantly, we often hear this coming through from parents, from grandparents. What is the future for our youth going to be in this country? Do we stay? Do we get out? What future do they have in this country? And I suppose, all of this contributes to the anxiety and the depression that we see around us.
Yeah, you see, the whole issue is one's concern about our future, whether there is hope for us here, whether we are in a particular situation in which we see no sunshine, as it were. But on the other level, the deep psychological issues and the issue of COVID and whatever it is, people are going through all kinds of depression and disappointment. To a point in which, sadly, the thing that has triggered all of this is the growing number of suicides amongst our youth. It's very, very sad this has happened, and we can very well understand what those individuals might be going through. And the whole idea behind this program is to give parents and young people coping skills, and the notion that we are not at the end of the road, but the bend in the road. The notion that when you, as an individual, as a believer, you are going to be tested, and Allah loves those that He tests. And the whole issue is also about the kind of friends you have. What do you need to do when you're going through a particular situation? Who do you seek advice from? Do you get into a mentoring program? How do you deal with this? And I think this is the reality. I think what hopefully we want to do is to rekindle the conversation in our own homes. Psychologists will tell you that revealing is healing. And that is a very, very important thing. Once you have the capacity and you're accorded the dignity of talking about what you're going through, that is very, very emotional and very, very cathartic. And as believers, we have to, no matter what we are going through, we must always see in our problems the hand of mercy from Allah. We need to be self-motivated. We need to be positive. We need to understand nothing is permanent and it will all pass.
Well, certainly, but also I think obviously this initiative is a major step forward in addressing the issues that you have been talking about, Brother Edriss. But sometimes we don't have enough of these type of programs because as families, as parents, we find it difficult to cope in these challenging times. And you mentioned the psychological consequences, the psychological impact to the point of suicide. Now, we need to obviously look at where we are at this point in time, these challenging times. We need to look at it and address it in a very, very serious light.
No, of course, in fact, I have made a serious commitment that I'm going to talk about issues that are affecting us. We cannot pretend it does not exist. For example, on this Sunday at 7 p.m., we are doing a program. It's called Dealing with Atheism Amongst Our Youth. And some people were surprised. I said, well, this is the reality. This is the world that we are living in. And I've got two dynamic guests, Mariam Limo and a beloved brother, Nuruddin Limo from Nigeria. We need to talk about these issues. We need to talk about issues that are really, dismembering, as it were, the family fabric. It's impacting on individuals where people are losing faith. And this is something fundamental. And so I think it's important that even as teachers, as Maulims and Maulima in madrasa and everything else that goes with it, it is not enough to teach the what and how of Islam. We also teach them the why. We need to make sure the Islamic values are eternalized. We need to help our young people to navigate the uncertain waters. We need to do that. And really, this is not an indictment on any individual. We do not speak as if we are angelic. And who are these people? These are our own children. And it's important that, as you rightly said, that we need to take these things very, very seriously. We need to help people with pragmatic steps to give people hope. And because these topics are often taboo, we find parents, suffer in silence. They pretend it did not exist. And as a result, they cut themselves from society. There is a non-engagement. And so we need to really go out and speak about it in a non-judgmental way so we can help other people that are going through these challenges.
Well, we certainly need more of this. And you cited the example of the program on atheism, and it's shocking. Sometimes we say that it's not happening around us and we're far removed from it. But, when one just looks at social media, tap into social media, tap into Twitter, and just look at some of the comments that young people are making, which is basically bordering on atheism as well. Now, with all of this together, like I said, it's sometimes we don't have enough people like yourself, Brother Edriss, to address these issues and to take this message, because it's a very, very strong, it's a very, very powerful, a very, very profound message that needs to go across all communities.
Now, what you're saying is right. And I think, it'd be a very sad indictment on our community that if our masajids, I'm not saying they don't, do not speak about it, because on a Friday we have a captive audience and people are really, really crying out for help. And it's important that we talk about issues that are impacting, especially on family life, on our youth, the kind of challenges that they're going through. Because we find that often when our youth go to the massages and they listen to lectures, there is a non-engagement because not many people have the capacity to engage and to ensure that they are able to capture the mind and the heart of young people. We tend to pontificate and sermonize. So we need to have these kinds of activities in which they are able to ask questions, they're able to participate. And this is the reality. And I'm dealing with all of this. And I know it's a reality. And my colleagues, when I speak to them, others that are involved in the community, they also share the same sentiments, And I'm so glad the Salam media, for example, are talking about it. They must continue to talk about it, because in the end, if you can save one child, you are saving a whole generation,
Well, certainly. And just very quickly looking ahead at this event and just to encourage people to attend, Brother Edriss.
Yes, it's on the 10th of November at in Kelvin after Maghreb at the school there. And I'll always like to remind myself, the name of the school, Apsic School, and may Allah bless them for coordinating this event. And I'll be joined by Maulana Suhail Wadi, and I'm looking forward to participating. And if the participants, the attendees, leave from there with a renewed vigor of optimism, having certain skills that they will embrace, so that there'll be an attitudinal change and also a behavioral change. So it's on the 10th of November after Maghrib at the Apsic School in Kelvin.
Well, Jazakallah khairan so much for that and for coming on and talking to us this morning, Brother Edriss. We wish you well. We wish everybody else well with regards to this particular event. And inshallah, we hope that it will be well attended, and more importantly, in terms of achieving the objective of this message of hope in these challenging times, inshallah.
Jazakumullah to you. May you continue from strength to strength, and may Salam Media also grow in terms of inspiring and reinvigorating the Ummah. Jazakumullah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Edriss Khamissa joining us. And just a reminder, November the 10th after Maghrib at the Apsic School. And this is in Kelvin. And this is a program for adolescents and their parents, talking about a number of issues: depression, anxiety, peer pressure. The key issue here is a message of hope in these challenging times. And with that, we headed for 9 a.m. It's time for the news, the live crossing over to Tabile Duma, who is on standby.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Ooh, ooh.